at the palace coup against President Biden, the same shadowy DNC operatives appointed his successor, also without an election. They installed a candidate who was so unpopular with voters that she dropped out in 2020 without winning a single delegate. My uncle and my father both relished debate. They prided themselves on their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35 days.
We've been listening to independent candidate.
That's right. RFK Jr. speaking now in Phoenix, Arizona. We can take a live look in here at Kennedy as he's at the lectern there in Phoenix. Kennedy just filed some court papers in Pennsylvania saying that he is going to be endorsing former President Donald Trump. His campaign, Kennedy's campaign, that is, had struggled to gain momentum. He was polling at about 5% in the polls. But an endorsement from Kennedy, who's most well known to most voters as a vaccine skeptic, might be on the margins, a benefit to Trump's campaign. Trump has said earlier this week, excuse me, that he would welcome a Robert F. Kennedy endorsement and said that he might see a role for Kennedy in his administration if he wins again in November. It's a very marginal election year this year, so anything helps on the margins. Kennedy polling near 5%, that could be something that could be a breath of fresh air for this Trump campaign, given that they've seen consolidation and energy on the Democratic side at the Democratic National Convention throughout the week this week. So we'll watch this announcement here and bring you any additional details that we get from the candidate. Tom. Now at the Department of Justice here in Washington, D.C., where Attorney General Merrick Garland is making some remarks here. They are announcing a new civil antitrust case, which just filed within the past couple of moments. It's significant, Carl. You guys, just before the break, were talking about housing rental price inflation. Well, in this case, the Department of Justice and 8 states are suing a software provider to real estate firms, to landlords, called RealPage, and they're alleging that RealPage used its algorithms to effectively collude among landlords to raise prices overall in lockstep. That is, that they were using the algorithm to do what old-fashioned colluders used to have to do in the smoke-filled room, so to speak. This is a first-of-its-kind case in which the Department of Justice is really interrogating the actual code of an actual algorithm. They've hired a bunch of data scientists to do this over at DOJ, and they're alleging that the software here is driving up prices on rental units. Now, here's the key element from the Department of Justice's case. They say, to RealPage, the greater good is served by ensuring that otherwise competing landlords rob Americans of the fruits of competition, lower rental prices, better leasing terms, more concessions. At the same time, the landlords enjoy the benefits of coordinated pricing among competitors. The DOJ goes on to say, RealPage replaces competition with coordination. It substitutes unity for rivalry. It subverts competition and the competitive process. It does so openly and directly, and American renters are left paying.
Nothing works when you try to artificially control prices. It's just a supply and demand issue. It's a flawed idea.
So did you have a question here?
Yes. Why would you propose a flawed idea when the real problem,
so let me
if you really want to help the middle class, if you really sincerely want to help people having trouble at the grocery store, it's not price gouging that's the issue. And if you look at it seriously and really want to help them, then let's do something about it together. Fine.
I understand if you want to do a lecture about this, but let's just start with, where have you been for the last 30 years as 36 states have price gouging laws, and they have used them effectively. States like Texas and Florida, they've used price gouging laws. Price gouging laws are not price control. Price gouging laws are to say, sometimes markets go off the rails, and when they do, we need some ways to get them back on the rails. We need some curbs on that behavior. So, for example, we watched in the pandemic how prices went up for a whole lot of reasons. They went up partly because we had supply chain kinks, we had problems because of the war in Ukraine that cut supplies of certain commodities. And one of the things that happened as a result of that is there were corporations that said, whoa, now that we have inflation, now that prices are up overall, this is a great opportunity for us to raise prices, not just in passing along costs, but to go way, way, way above that. And how do we know that it was way, way above just passing along costs? Look at what happened to their profit margins. If they'd just been passing along costs, profit margins would have stayed about the same. But for some industries, some companies, profit margins shot up. And do you know where they shot up most often? It was in companies or in industries where there was a lot of concentration, a lot of market power, places where the market is not functioning competitively. So you end up with someone, you remember we all talked about egg prices. You end up with something like this giant egg producer, Cal-Maine. And Cal-Maine raises the price of eggs. Their profit margins increase by 718%. That's not just passing along costs.
Senator,
and that is a time
that's sophistry. Your example on Kraft. Your example on Kraft is even worse.
You finished first. In any of the states around the country that already have price gouging laws in place.
Can I tell you why that those are fallacious and misleading at best? And your Kraft analogy is even. Why can't I tell you? Please let me tell you. Kraft, you say, was 440% profit increase. The example you used, the prior quarter from the year before, they had a charge of $1.3 billion, an accounting change which wiped out profits. Then they earned what they normally. Let me finish now. They earned.
You didn't let me finish. Look at the data. Come on. We have economic study now after economic study.
This is the way it always goes.
When there is more concentration,
40 million eggs were destroyed because of avian flu.
When there is more concentration in an industry, we have seen much greater increases in.
Do you attribute the inflation?
Margins.
That's what you think we need to do to solve it?
They're not random. They are not random one-offs. It is part of the problem when you've got companies that are gouging consumers on prices. Consumers need to know they've got somebody on their side.
Senator,
and
listen, we're trying to help. We're trying to actually do. Where are you in the 37 states that currently have price gouging laws?
Just quickly on that point.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And guys, make sure you go like and follow that TikTok. And we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. drops out of the race, endorsing Trump. And remember, guys, Robert F. Kennedy started off as Democrat, then moved to independent, now endorsing a Republican, which is Trump. And like I stated before, he was there to give us the truth the same way Andrew Yang stated. He let us know about the C word. He let us know about the new economy. He let us know about all this technology. He let us know the whole plan. He gave you the truth. It is whether you want to accept it or not, whether you want to bring yourself into reality. And we know most people want to live a lie. And in 4 years, everybody's going to look back and wish they voted for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as president. Like I stated, he's going to end up being a legend. Everything that he quoted, like I stated, is exactly what's about to happen. And then, guys, we have the Department of Justice goes after RealPage using algorithms to price fix. But guys, when the banks are the biggest they've been price fixing, they just get a slap on the wrist. And we have Elizabeth Warren on price fixing, gouging in the stores. Remember, it's on a handful of companies that own everything that we have. They're just going by thousands of names. Just the illusion of choice. And of course, on television, they act like they're debating. It's just the Hegelian dialectic. This inflation is not going anywhere until the consumer breaks. The consumer is still buying. As high as prices are, they're still buying. But we know eventually it's going to break. And next year, by the end of the year, the consumer would have been broke because we're going to have more and more layoffs. We know at the beginning of the year is tax season. They're going to keep spending, but the back half of the year, they'll be broke. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, if you have a good job, you lead a job, another one is just not going to be available. We can clearly see that. Now we have the mainstream media pushing that crypto has a role in this election process. But guys, remember, these digital assets are the goal of the NWO. So the Democrats and Republicans are going to be bipartisan because they're trying to push the NWO's agenda. Digital assets is what's going to save this economy. And will the Fed cut 25 basis points or 50 basis points? We will know September 8th because we're going to get new jobs numbers. But it doesn't matter whether they cut 50 basis points, 75 or 100. The damage has been done. And it's not just here in America, it's in the global economy. And we haven't heard any news from the BRICS probably about 6 months because they're working behind the curtain. These drums are beaten are going to lead to the rise of the robots, algorithms, and drones, and the sheep going inside the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows, when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Nearly half of all the corporate money being pumped into this year's election is coming from the crypto industry, according to a new report from the nonprofit watchdog group Public Citizen. Now, the sector, which has been under high scrutiny by the Biden administration, is outspending big oil and banks this cycle, with Koch Industries in a distant second place in terms of corporate contributions. Heavyweights like Coinbase, Ripple, and VC firm Andreessen Horowitz, which has a sizable crypto book, have collectively given more than $146 million with the goal of trying to get candidates who are friendly to the industry into office. Now, most of that corporate money being raised is going to the popular and bipartisan pro-crypto super PAC called Fairshake, which is one of the top spending PACs this year. I spoke to their team last night to get the latest numbers on the 4 largest donors to Fairshake and its associated PACs. Coinbase has contributed $49 million. A16Z and Ripple have both given $47 million each, and Jump Crypto put in $15 million. Now, as for where all that money is going, a filing with the Federal Election Commission this week showed that in July, Fairshake dispersed almost $75 million and still has nearly $120 million left to deploy, with 73 days to go until the November election. The super PAC has pledged $25 million from that pool of cash to 18 House candidates in the general election to be split among 9 Democrats and 9 Republicans. It's committed another $18 million to 3 Senate races, Joe.
Yes, but I think if the decision were today, the September 18th meeting were actually today, it's much more likely that they'd do 25 basis points because they'd like, I think, to be consistent and smooth about it if they could. And so I think that's more likely at the moment. But if we see, for example, a disappointing print on jobs and the unemployment rate and other aspects of labor markets, yes, 50 basis points could come into play, as you suggest.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Yahshua and Grandma Tanya save New York. From COVID 33, Part 3. King Yahshua and Grandma Tanya goes to China.
It's mandatory to get Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.